Okay, it's time to bring back our regular interviews, and who better to kick us off than club co-owner Terry Casey. Terry, thanks for your time today. I suppose because it's been quite a while since we last caught up with you, it would be amiss to not go back and look over that difficult 18 months of when COVID hit. I mean, it's touched all our lives in various ways, but you know, as the owner of a football club, how challenging was it for yourself?
It was difficult on loads of different levels. I think it was difficult because not having people in the stadium, we were sensing the loss of the fortnightly fix of a football match that all of our supporters were suffering. And of course, so much anxiety about the illness as well. But as far as a business and a football club is concerned, we simply battened down the hatchets and we reduced our spending to almost nothing, and we just waited until it all passed over. We could start trading again, but there were horrible times for lots of people for lots of different reasons, and there were so many good things as well happened out in that period. And of course, the most heartwarming of the lot was the fact that so many people had paid for their season tickets, and however hard we tried, we couldn't get them to take their money back, which it just makes you realise how important this football club is to so many people, and our thanks go to all of those people who just simply donated their season ticket money just to make sure they had a football club to go to when this dreadful lockdown finished.
And wasn't it great, you know, when pre-season came back and the players were back in training regularly, and then of course the news that full capacity crowds could go ahead. I mean, that must have been an absolute relief.
I think everybody felt the same. There was a mixture of relief and also a little bit of nervousness as well, because the pandemic has hit people, like you say, in so many different ways. And I think the management here have got fairly strong views on people being vaccinated, for example. So we're very strong on everybody being vaccinated within the club if they can. And but yeah, there's nothing quite the same as being in the Gallagher with 2,000 people cheering and shouting, and so it's been wonderful to be back. It's like a resurgence. It's been wonderful.
It almost felt a bit like, obviously nothing's going to compare to July 2012 itself, but that first game when everyone was back, it felt that there was an element of newness there, wasn't it? People were so keen to be back on those terraces, back in their seats and watching their team again.
Yeah, it was just like a fresh start, really, because the 18 months had been so awful. People were full of optimism, and of course the season started quite well for us as well. So the optimism was sort of continued with the good start that we had to the season. So everybody was loving each other and loving the moment. So it was a great feeling. It's just great to be back. It really is.
And obviously, for you personally, what's your priorities for this coming season? Obviously, we speak to some chairmen, we go to away games, and it's just like you just want to, we want to complete the season. That's aim number one. It's just to make sure we actually get a full calendar after missing the previous two. Obviously, that's satisfactory for some, but in your own mind, how do you see the season?
I think, like probably all supporters, you've got this little game plan, this little programme of where you want to see your football club. And for Maidstone United, we should be in the playoffs. Get to the playoffs, and our natural place is in the National League. That's where our habitat is, in that league. But when we go to the National League, and we will either this year or next year or sometime soon, we've got to be ready for what's facing us. And I look at the National League, I look at about 7 or 8 clubs that have got crowds of over 5,000. These are seriously big football clubs. And we've got to get ourselves into a position where we understand what it's like to be comfortable in the National League. And that's, I look at Maidenhead, I look at Bromley, Boreham Wood, I look at all these clubs and think about how do they sustain their place so comfortably in the National League. And we've got to try and emulate that somehow. With Boreham Wood, I think we know how they do it, because they've got a very active academy, and it's a very big numbers they've got there, and that tends to fund their football team. And as for Bromley, I don't know how they do it, but the point I'm making is we should be in the National League, but we should be better prepared when we do get there.
Looking back on last season in the National League itself, to see Sutton, a team that obviously we went up with those 3 or 4 years ago. To see a club like that progress and make it through the Football League, again, it's that encouragement, isn't it? That inspiration that teams can come through the ranks, through from the Isthmian League into South, international, and then as you say, once they've stabilised and settled in that league, push on from there.
Yeah. No, I remember Paul Doswell when we played over at Ashford, and we first took over the football club, and he came over and he wished us luck, and we were playing in the Ryman South against each other. So both clubs have progressed really spectacularly. And yeah, there's a place for Maidstone United. I know that if we got ourselves comfortable in the National League and we got lucky with a few players, why shouldn't we be in League Two? Because I know the crowds would exceed 3,000 a game if we got to League Two, and we'd be close to 3,000 a game if we were knocking on the doors at the top of the National League. So yeah, our ambition hasn't changed. It's just we just got to be better prepared. We spent 3 years in the National League, and we just felt we hadn't been invited to the party. We didn't quite have whatever it took to maintain our place in the National League. So the next time we get there, we will be ready, and we will have be better prepared.
Priorities for the next few weeks. Obviously, we're heading to the Christmas and New Year period on, where the games come thick and fast. What are you looking for in that time?
A goal. Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, there's nothing more wicked than football when you think we were so on top of things, and we went to Oxford and we completely dominated and won against a very good side, and then came Dartford, the great Dartford disaster, and we haven't looked that much different, but we haven't looked like winning, but we haven't looked like being battered by any of those teams either. And I mean, I haven't gone to Hungerford and seen the goal that wasn't a goal, the sending off that wasn't a sending off, or the two sending offs that weren't sending offs, which is complete of the same player. You just think there are times where I never like to say we were unlucky or it was the ref's fault, but actually the luck hasn't really been particularly with us. And the Hungerford was just a great example, because I mean, Booty clears the ball off the line, off his leg, he then gets sent off and they give a goal. All of it was wrong, and the tackle he made wasn't a bad tackle. I was right in front of it, and you just think to yourself, are we ever going to catch a break here? And we will, because this is not a bad side. I think it's weak. It's got a couple of weaknesses. I think Hakan's working on the weaknesses, and Terry's working on it, and Bill. We're all agonising over the fact we've gone 6 games without a win, and we're all suffering. But we'll get back. It's a good team. It's a team good enough for the playoffs, in my opinion. And so they're the priorities. Let's get a couple of goals, then we start winning matches, and then, as you say, the Christmas period, we could be. I mean, there's only about 4 points between about 8 teams, so I mean, we could be back near the top again after Christmas.
And of course, that New Year counts down to the 10th anniversary of the homecoming, and I mean, that time has just flown by, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been.
And when you look, does that feel like a whole whirlwind to you now? That 10-year period?
Well, sadly, I was watching the Brighton game the other night, so clearly I need to move on and get out a bit more, because it's been a fantastic 10 years, no question about it. Even the 3 years where, under the old management, with Jay running the team, those 3 years in the National League, we've everything to be proud of, and I don't look back on anything with any sense of regret at all. But it's been a wonderful 10 years, and it's not just what goes on the pitch either. What's gone on the first team matches have mean a lot to a lot of people, but the thousands of people that have come down here and just played in the kids' leagues and the kids' football. Overall, it's been a terrific experience, and all the other things we've developed over the years, with the academy now really beginning to develop. Our youngsters teams that are always respected around the local leagues. Another great benefit of all the community teams is the fact we can get old friends back as well. People like Iniesta coming back to do some coaching for us. It's a lovely feeling, and loads of old and ex-players they do remember being at Maidstone with real fondness, and we see a lot of them back with their kids and their grandchildren. So yeah, it's more than just the first team up and down. It's been a whole experience, a whole business for the whole community, which I'm really proud of what we've achieved.